Hello my fair citizens, we are back. We're gonna try to release YouTube videos every single day once again, but it's kind of contingent on Certified's internet connection and his well-being. For those of you who don't know, Certified is my video editor and he lives in Ukraine, so that's pretty much the whole situation. That's why we haven't done videos for a while. Has nothing to do with any kind of burnout, has nothing to do with any kind of laziness. It's literally just because the video editor lives in Ukraine and there's that whole Russia situation. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just fucking Google it, okay? But again, we are back. So if you want to keep up with all the content, hit that subscribe button. Make sure to subscribe over to the Sodium City channel for the top 10s. And I have a new live stream VOD channel. So if you missed the streams, then go ahead and check that out. But all the links will be in the description below. With all that being said, this is the top 10 new Capenna cards that I am most excited to brew with. So let's just jump right in, and number 10 on the list is going to be Angel of Suffering. And I know it's very rare that I play creatures, let alone ones that I'm excited to brew around, but this one looks kind of different, and it's a really fun and interesting don't kill me kind of card. Angel of Suffering is a 5-mana 5/3 flyer that says if damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. So for the most part, there are a lot of cards that can do something like this but better, like 9 Lives or Gideon of the Trials, Platinum Angel, Lich's Mastery. There's probably a bunch of other ones, but this one can be especially annoying if you're running cards like Gaia's Blessing in there. Gaia's Blessing is a 2-mana sorcery that does a whole bunch of stuff that we don't really care about, but the last part of the card is what's important. When Gaia's Blessing is put into your graveyard from the library, you get to shuffle your graveyard into your library. This essentially means that we have infinite life as long as our Angel of Suffering is in play. For instance, let's say we have Angel of Suffering on the battlefield and we have 4 cards in our library and one of them is a Gaia's Blessing. The opponent hits us in the face with a shock. Now, shock obviously can't kill our Angel because our Angel has 3 toughness and shock only does 2, but we have to mill 2 times 2 damage. Shock does 2 damage, and Angel of Suffering says we have to mill 2 times the damage dealt. So we're going to mill the 4 cards that we have, but since one of them is Gaia's Blessing, what it's going to do is it's going to shuffle all of our graveyard back into our library. Simple as that. Now, is this vulnerable? Yes. Is it good? Probably not, but I'm going to do it nonetheless. Coming in at number 9 is Luxior. Guy does get... Why? Can't they just be like sword of this fucking sword that does things, right? I don't know. I can't read. Come on. Anyway, it's a 1-mana equipment that gives equipped creature +1/+1 for each counter on it. Any type of counter, right? Equipped permanent is not a planeswalker and is a creature in addition to its other types. Now, you can also equip to a creature for 3 colorless, or you can equip to a planeswalker for 1 colorless. Now, this is really weird because I think this is the only equipment that you can actually attach to a planeswalker that isn't already a creature, but regardless. So, loyalty counters are still counters. And there are a couple cheap planeswalkers that have high loyalty, but most importantly, it's going to be Kiora Behemoth Beckoner. Kiora is a 3-mana 7 loyalty planeswalker. Now, this is all we care about when it comes to Kiora. We care about nothing else. I don't even remember what she does outside of that. She only has a minus ability. We definitely don't want to do that. So, what we want to do is we want to equip this gift to her, because if we do that, she becomes a 7/7. Now, this isn't super impressive because it's just a 7/7, doesn't have trample or anything. However, we can get this out on turn 3, right? So on turn 1, we just play something like 420 Graze It or Kamiya Bamboo Groves. We just do that on turn 1 to get an extra land into the battlefield. Then on turn 2, we play Kiora. And then on turn 3, we play the gift and equip it, and then swing in for 7. Now, I don't know how many things we can actually do with this deck concept or this little combo thingamajig, but there are a couple Gideon cards that are already creatures, and then there's Sarkhan that turns planeswalkers into dragons. So maybe we could just make a little planeswalkers are creatures kind of deck, but let me know what you want to see in the comment section below. Now, number 8 is a weird one for me because I really want to move it higher on the list, but I'm just unsure what to do to finish up the combo. So number 8 is going to be Body Launderer. This is a 4-mana 3/3 with Death Touch, so I really like that part of it. And it says, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Body Launcher connives. So basically you get to draw a card, discard a card. It's kind of nice. But the second part is the part we actually care about. So when Body Launderer dies, return another target non-rogue creature card with equal or lesser power from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, this doesn't sound all that great, but that's why my ideas are so bad, because they are so great. So we're going to take a bad card and make it good, and this is how we're going to do it. The best card to make this work is going to be, drum roll, you guessed it, Bootlegge. No, not the Bedazzle side of the card, just Bootlegge. Now, this is a 2-mana, target creature gets +3/-3 until end of turn. This means that we can target our own Body Launderer and make it a 6/0. So this obviously kills it, but the power is 6 when it dies. So this means we get to bring back a non-rogue creature with the power 6 or less. Now again, I don't know what card I want to bring back yet with it, but I think it has a lot of potential because I already think that Bedazzle is a pretty good card in and of itself, especially since we get all the new triomes and there's a ton of 3-color and 2-color stuff with the new set. Everyone's going to be running multicolored cards. That means they have to run non-basic lands, so it gives Bedazzle a valid target. So I think it's just going to shine in the new format. I just need to know any type of 6-power creature that we want to get back from the graveyard. I don't play creatures, but one of you will probably know. Let me know what card you're going to bring back with this combo, because I know somebody is going to try it. But let me know what creature in the comment section below. Number 7 on the list is going to be yet another creature. I know, 3 in a row. It's like I've changed since the last time you've seen me.
Disgusting.
But this is going to be Pyre. I have no idea how to say that.
Pyre.
The Sledge Arsonist. It's a 3-mana 2/2 that has an ability of 1 tap. It deals X damage to any target where X is the number of permanents you've sacrificed this turn. Now, I know you're just going to roll your eyes and just assume I'm going to be like, oh my god, Strider, you're just going to net deck a sack deck and me. Because that's kind of what some of you sound like, right? And like Beaker from Sesame Street. If you don't get the reference, fucking go touch grass, right? Get some sun. But I'm not going to be playing it with some random sack deck. I'm going to be playing it with God Eternal Bantu, or maybe just a bunch of treasures. Who knows? I bet you didn't see that one coming. God Eternal Bantu is a 5-mana 5/6 creature with Menace, which is kind of cool, but we don't actually really care about that. We only care about its enter the battlefield effect, which is whenever it enters the battlefield, you get to sacrifice any number of other permanents. Any. This includes lands, this includes treasures, food tokens, random artifacts, whatever it is that we may have. So this is really, really cool. The thing is, it's going to be really hard to get 20 permanents on the battlefield, especially when you're running red and black. But with all the new triomes coming out, we do have access to Jund, which means we can ramp a lot with green, which helps us get to, I mean, not 20 lands. I have no idea actually how we're going to do this. But regardless, we throw in Bantu, we sacrifice 20 permanents. Just make sure you float the 1 mana. You have to float the 1 mana for the Arsonist ability, because if you don't, that's going to be embarrassing, because then you just sacrifice 20 permanents and you have nothing to show for it. Don't do that. I know, I'm like 100% sure I'm going to do that on accident at least once. I'm going to play it and I'm going to forget to float the mana. It's going to suck so bad. I can already see it coming. Anyway, but like I said, it's going to be really, really difficult to do, but there are a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to generate tokens now. So we'll see what we can figure out. And at number 6, we have Falco. Now, this is going to be one of those weird cards that I have no idea if it's going to work the way I want it to work, or if it's going to be the biggest fail of all time. Falco is a 4-mana 3/3 with Flample. It enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it. basically meaning that it's indestructible for one attempt of somebody killing it. But, you know, Meat Hook Massacre is like the most common board wipe right now, so it's like fucking useless. Anyway, the good part about it is that you may look at the top card of your library at any time, but you may cast the cards from the top of your library, but you have to remove a counter from the card in addition to paying their mana cost. However, there is a way to kind of mitigate this, because obviously if you only have one shield counter, you have to remove a counter. It's not really going to help you if you can only cast one card, right? So we have to add counters to this card. How do we do that? Well, we do it with an Inexorable Tide, of course. Now, this is an enchantment to where whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get to proliferate. Now, this basically just means that whenever we cast a spell, we remove a shield counter, but we get to proliferate, which technically adds another shield counter. But you just need to make sure that you have 2 shield counters on it before you do any of this, because obviously if you remove a shield counter when it's at 1, shield counter goes away and you can't proliferate something that doesn't exist, right? So as long as you cast another card, it's at 2, and then when you cast a card from the top of your library, it'll go down to 1, you'll proliferate, it'll go up to 2, cast a card, go down 1, up 2, down 1, up 2, and you can just do it for infinity, basically, or as long as you can keep it alive. So it's something that could be cool, but I just don't know how well it's going to work. Hopefully it does really well, because I'm excited for it. Halfway through the list, and we have Jetmir coming in at number 5. Here, once again, another creature. What in the world is going on? Whatever. Jetmir is a 4-mana 5/4 that says creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you control 3 or more creatures. It also has creatures you control also get +1/+0 and trample as long as you control 6 or more creatures. It also has creatures you control get +1/+0 and have double strike as long as you control 9 or more creatures. So let's just say you have 9 creatures. That means all your creatures get +3/+0, they have vigilance, and they have trample, and they have double strike. This is actually kind of stupid. However, we have to have 9 creatures on the battlefield, which is already extremely difficult to do because there's board wipes everywhere. There's obviously fight spells you have to deal with. There's single target removal. I mean, there's a billion things you have to worry about, right? But it's going to be extremely easy with a card like Sylvan Awakening. Sylvan Awakening is a 3-mana sorcery that turns all your lands into 2/2 elementals with reach, indestructible, and haste. Now, this combined with Jetmir means all of your lands are now 5/2s with reach, indestructible, haste, vigilance, trample, and double strike. I'd say that's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I'd say that's pretty fucking good. I'm really excited to play more with Sylvan Awakening. It's one of my favorite cards, and I think this set did a lot to support it. So if there's any older cards that you think this set gave a lot of love to, let me know in the comment section below. Finally, not a creature on the list. Coming in at number 4, we have Bootlegge Stach. Now, this is a 6-mana artifact that gives your lands the ability to tap and create a treasure token. I love treasures. I think they're full of fun memes, especially when you're pairing it with Revel in Riches and or Marionette Master. Revel in Riches is a 5-mana enchantment that whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a treasure. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you just win the game. Now, this should be a lot easier with this because when all your lands tap to generate a treasure, it's just so much easier to have treasures. It's just really, really, really hard to get treasures in general. There's not a ton of treasure generators, and the ones that are typically aren't that great. But the other card that we have as either a win condition or a supporting character is going to be Marionette Master. Now, this is a 6-mana 1/3 that when it comes into play, you fabricate 3. Now, this means we can either make 3 1/1s, we'll never do that really, or we could put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So we're going to make a 4/6 99% of the time, and then it has a really unique ability that synergizes extremely well with treasures as well. So we're basically either going to win with a lot of treasures or win with no treasures, and this is why. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you've definitely seen me use Marionette Master a few times, but If you haven't, it does have a unique ability of whenever an artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette Master's power. So since Marionette Master will be a 4 power creature, they're going to lose 4 HP. This is fantastic because treasures will actually hit the graveyard before they're exiled whenever you sacrifice them. This is amazing. So when every single land you have has tap, opponent loses 4 HP, I'd say that's pretty powerful. Now, coming in at number 3 is going to be Cemetery Tampering. This is a 3-mana enchantment that I think has a lot more power than people give it credit for. When the enchantment enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library, exile one of them face down, and put the rest in the bottom in a random order. Now, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 3 cards. That's a lot of cards at the beginning of your turn. And you can do it. You don't have to do it, but you can do it every single turn, which is actually ridiculous. But then if there are 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you may play the exile card without paying its mana cost. Now, this is just going to be absolutely ridiculous when it comes to Eerie Ultimatum. If in that top 5 cards, you can get Eerie Ultimatum in exile, it's ridiculous because they can't even target your hand to discard your Eerie Ultimatum. It's completely exiled, free from them touching it. The only vulnerable part is them exiling your graveyard, but that's pretty much always been a problem with Eerie Ultimatum decks. Since the mill ability is a May ability, this is a lot better than it could be because obviously later on in the game, you usually don't want to mill 3 cards every turn. It can be very, very scary. But since it's a May ability, you don't actually have to do that. So it's really, really nice. You can just stop it later on in the game when you're running a little bit low on cards, or if you scry something to the top, you don't actually have to mill it at the beginning of your turn. It's really, really nice. It also has a lot of synergy with things like Search for Azcanta, blah, 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 blah. You know all those cards, and if you don't, I mean, you can do it with Undergrowth. There's a lot of things you can do with the graveyard. There's a lot. I'm going to be doing stuff with Eerie Ultimatum. That's primarily what I'll be doing. I might also mess around with Jace, the one that you win the game if you draw a card without any cards in your library. I'll definitely do that because this isn't even legendary, which means you can have all 4 on the battlefield. You can copy it if you want, especially if we're running Jace. You might as well run Mythos of Aluna. It's an enchantment, so you can run things like Mirror Image. You can do so much, and you can start milling like 12, 20 cards almost every single turn if you want to. It's possible that this could go absolutely crazy. I'm really interested to see. I'm getting even worse ideas. I'm getting worse ideas as I'm recording this. This is why this card is number 3. Top 3. It might move up to 2. Definitely not 1, but it could move up to 2. Number 2 is going to be yet another card that can run Sylvan Awakening. I don't know why a lot of these new cards work so well with Sylvan Awakening. I really don't, but the card that I'm referencing specifically is Halo Fountain. Now, this is a 3-mana artifact that has the ability, we only care about 1 ability, let's be real, and it's 5 white mana, tap it, untap 15 tapped creatures you control, and you win the game. That's simple, right? Just have 15 creatures forehead. Super easy, right? It's definitely very difficult to do that. However, getting 15 lands onto the battlefield is much easier. Much, much, much easier. Of course, you can have other creatures, things like the Grazer. However, you would still have to like attack with the Grazer or tap it somehow. It's just, let's just keep it super simple and win with Sylvan Awakening. Now, we talked a little bit about Sylvan Awakening earlier, but in case you missed it, it's just a 3-mana sorcery that turns all of our lands into 2/2 elementals. Now, they do have indestructible, so even if they wanted to kill the lands on our turn, they wouldn't really be able to because we could just respond by activating the ability with the Fountain, which is just 5 white mana, untap 15 lands, essentially, and we win the game. And it's really, really easy because they are lands. We don't have to attack with those creatures as lands. We can literally just tap them for mana with no reason. Just tap them for mana and then untap all 15 lands. The hard part is just getting 15 lands. How are we going to get 15 lands onto the battlefield? that's what we got to find out. But it's an alternate win condition, and they're always fun, especially when I can get an alternate win condition with Sylvan Awakening. The thing is, if you have 15 lands and a Sylvan Awakening, you're probably just going to win in general, unless they have a huge board themselves. So, I don't know. It's probably overkill, but I'm definitely going to do it a lot. 100%. 100%. Now, last but not least, number one on the list is the card that everyone knew would be number one on the list, and that is Arcane Bombardment. Now, this is a 6-mana enchantment that reads, whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell on each turn, so this includes the opponent's, we get to exile an instant or sorcery card at random from our graveyard. Then we get to copy each card that is exiled within Arcane Bombardment. So if we cast spell on our turn, we get to exile one from our graveyard, and then we get to cast that one. And then if we cast spell on their turn, we get to exile another card from our graveyard, and we get to cast both of those. And then our turn comes up, we cast an instant or sorcery, it exiles another card, and then we can cast all three of those. Obviously, this is absolutely ridiculous. We can do this with Storm. We can do this with Land Destruction. We can do this with both. Am I going to do it with both? Absolutely. Am I going to do them individually? Absolutely. Am I going to do this with, I don't know, anything? Absolutely. This is going to be one of my favorite cards for quite some time. I'm super, super excited to do this. I'll probably play this with stupid things like Revival Revenge. I don't know. I'm all about this card. I'm really, really excited about this card. Once I saw this card, I knew the set was going to be a banger. I was a little bit disappointed. If you look at my top 10 list, the top 10 cards that are on this list are pretty much all from the first, 3 or 4 days of spoilers. So I'm I was really hyped for the set the first, week of the spoilers. After that, I was just like, oh no, it's all going downhill. But there's a lot of really good cards, a lot of really good deck ideas. So let me know what your number one is or your top 5. Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Once again, this is the very first video back. Once again, we are going to try to do daily videos, so make sure to subscribe to this channel. Make sure to subscribe to the Sodium City channel that does all the top 10s, and the news channel with the podcast. It's got all sorts of stuff over there. That link will be in the description below, and probably the card that pops out somewhere at the top right-hand corner of the screen.
Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to this point, it means you either really enjoyed the video or you fell asleep and I'm waking you up now. Either way, thank you for all the support. I really do appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, come out with videos 7 days a week.